Let's talk about job descriptions. They are literally the front door to your entire organization. But here's the thing, they're also one of the easiest places for bias to creep in. You know how it goes. A manager writes one from memory or pulls up an old wish list, and suddenly you've got wildly inconsistent quality in candidate pools that look different for every role. So today, we're going to explore how AI can help you write them with you, not replace you, to make the process faster, way more consistent, and with a bias review built right in from the start. When you're writing a job description, you've really got two ways you can go. There's the manual path, which, let's be honest, is usually a winding, inconsistent journey where quality varies and bias can just run wild, totally unchecked. Or you can take the AI-assisted path. This one is direct, it's structured, and it builds quality and that crucial bias review right into the DNA of the process. Yeah, both paths get you a job description in the end, but only one is actually designed for fairness right from the very beginning. Okay, so what does a tool like this actually do for you? Let's break it down into its three core functions. It's pretty straightforward. First up, and this is maybe the most important part, it's all about the foundation. So the number one benefit is getting a consistent foundation every single time. Instead of relying on a manager's memory or some old copy-pasted JDs, the AI generates the description from a standardized role brief. Think of it as a simple, structured form that captures the real essentials of the role. This means every single job description starts from the same high-quality input that reflects what the job requires today, not what it required 5 years ago. Second, and this is a game changer, it acts as a proactive tool for inclusion. And here's the second huge benefit. The system automatically flags things like gender-coded language or unnecessarily restrictive requirements before that description ever sees the light of day. This isn't about damage control or reacting to problems later. It's about preventing exclusionary language at the point of creation, making your whole process fair from step one. And the third benefit? Well, this one ties the whole thing together for the interview phase. The third big win here is interview consistency. By mapping the job description's requirements to a skills framework you've already defined, the tool can generate a structured assessment matrix. What does that mean? It means every single interviewer is using the exact same criteria to evaluate every single candidate. It pulls the guesswork and subjectivity right out of the process. Okay, this probably sounds great. So, what do you actually need to get started? It's not as complicated as you might think. Here are the 5 key things you'll need to have in place. Here's your 5-point list. Number 1, a super simple role brief template. And I mean simple, keep it under 10 fields. 2, a skills framework. You don't need to overthink this. 10 to 15 core capabilities is a fantastic start. 3, a bias language list you've compiled from public research. 4, an approved official JD template for consistency. And finally, number 5, and this part is absolutely non-negotiable, a named human reviewer who is responsible for that final legal and bias sign-off. And this right here, this is the core mantra for this entire process. You need to remember this. The AI is an incredible assistant. It flags potential issues, it suggests improvements, it provides that essential structure. But the final decision, the context, and all the accountability, that always remains with a human expert. The AI flags, the human confirms. Now that you've got your checklist, let's talk about the playbook. Here are the 6 steps you'd follow to actually implement this process. So, steps 1 to 3 are all about setting up your inputs. First, you build that role brief. Think of a completed brief as the entry ticket. No brief, no job description. Simple as that. Second, you configure your AI tool with all your templates and lists. Third, you hit generate, and then you review that first draft against 4 simple criteria. Does it match the brief? Does it use the template? Did it pass the bias check? And does it map correctly to your skills framework? Next up in step 4, you'll review that draft with the hiring manager. But here's the key. You need to coach them to focus on operational accuracy. Is this what the job actually does, not just their personal writing style? Step 5, you generate that all-important skills assessment matrix for the interviewers. And finally, step 6, you record everything, the JD, the bias review report, the skills matrix, as a single audible hiring package. That documentation is your proof of a fair, structured process. A successful deployment requires one final, absolutely critical layer: governance. So let's look at what separates a really solid, defensible system from a problematic one. Doing this right really means 3 things. 1, a human signs off on every single JD after they've reviewed the bias report, no exceptions. 2, You're doing a quarterly audit of your shortlist demographics to see if the process is actually producing fair outcomes. And 3, you have your templates and bias lists reviewed by legal counsel every 6 months because, laws and norms are constantly changing. Now, on the flip side, here's how this can all go terribly wrong. The process fails when you just treat the AI draft as finished and skip the human review. It fails when you let managers change the criteria in the middle of the process, or when you use a skills matrix that's just too generic to be useful. And it becomes a total black box if you don't audit the outcomes. These aren't just minor hiccups, they completely undermine the whole point of the system. So, here is the single most important takeaway. You have to reframe how you think about this kind of tool. Don't see it as just a speed tool. See it as a quality and governance tool that just so happens to be faster. The real value isn't just the time you save. It's the consistency, the fairness, and the defensibility that it creates for your organization. And that really brings us to our final thought for today. As you think about everything we've covered, I want to leave you with this question to consider for your own organization. What is the single biggest problem with your job descriptions right now? Are they too generic? Are they way too restrictive? Or is it something else entirely? Because the answer to that question, that's your starting point.